Hey, you guys, I'm here to bring you my first review for the first episode of The Last Kingdom, episode 1. So in this episode, the episode begins off with, at first, Orkbert, yeah, Orkbert noticing that the Viking ships were coming. He lets his father know, and his father pretty much tells him to go along with them. They're riding back into their kingdom. So pretty much his father tells everybody, the ones in command, underneath him, saying that, bring everyone to the castle. You know what, forget about the village, bring everyone to the castle. So he also tells, I believe, his eldest son, who is Orkbert's brother, to pretty much take a little small group, probably around 30 or 50, to sort of just watch the Vikings and to see what they're gonna do. Measure their numbers and all that stuff, and to not engage them, not to fight them. So pretty much either way, you have the Vikings on the boat. You have Earl Ragnar, pretty much his guy Gutham, take some water, put it in a bucket. They're tasting the water. He speaks to this old guy, and Ragnar says, "What does it taste like?" The old guy says, "It tastes like fresh water." And then he asks Earl Ragnar, "What do you see?" He says, "I see a land in which I can see myself get fat and old." You know, and then he also notices the king's, Orkbert's father's, brother's little small group, that he was supposed to lead, whatever. So the king's son, you know, pretty much tells, the Vikings that their army's bigger than theirs, and they have a stronger god. And that was pretty much out to being provoked because the Vikings pretty much mooned him and disrespected him, whatever. So Earl Ryan is like, let's go teach this boy a lesson. So later in the episode, we found out that the king's name is actually Uthrith, and him, and I believe he tells um, Arkbert or Orbert. Oh, God damn it! So many bursts in this episode. I'll get used to it. Yeah. At this time, Arkbert pretty much goes fetch the priest. So the kid and the priest have an interesting conversation. You know, the priest says to Arkbert that it's important to know how to read and write, so because this is part of history, and we're writing down facts, whatever. But Orpah's like, well, why don't we just send father? Why don't you just send a guy on horseback to do it? And the priest is like, because who's to say the person on horseback's telling the truth, or they'll remember the full message, you know? Then Orpah's like, well, father doesn't know how to read or write, and the priest says the funniest shit. He's like, well, it's too late for him, And then after that, you have Orpah pretty much say to him, well, I heard we were once pagans, and Odin and Woden was one and the same. And then the priest's like, listen, we learned from past mistakes. We went to Rome. Now we are blessed, and they are heathens. And they kept going back and forth, back and forth. And he was saying, I'm gonna make you swear on Saint Cuthbert's, I believe, comb, never to say or talk about any heathen matters anymore, any of those pagan gods. And then Orkbert's like, you know what? What if I name my pig that? He said, who's going to stop me then? They just kept going more and more and more, back and forth. And you have the priest saying, well, what if you name your pig Thor? They're just going back and forth and shit. It was just hilarious, especially when just the end of the priest was like, so where's your father? And then Orbrick's like humping the humping the servant girl. Then the guys laughing, all like, when will you stop teasing? He said, you think you ever stop teasing? He was like, nope. So yeah, after that, you have Orkbert, the priest, his dad, and his uncle pretty much watching, from the top. No. A little bit before that, you have Orkbert looking, seeing the people come in, and the father is pretty much reading the boy's mind. He's saying, so what, you wonder why I'm letting all the people in here and leaving the villages all alone? Hmm? He's all saying, you know what? I'll tell you why, boy. Because villages can be rebuilt, but a soldier dies once, And what else? Then he mentioned something about it was saying that the Vikings going to destroy anything, that comes their way. So after that, back to what I was about to say, you have the priest, the boy, King Uthrith, and his brother, and he sees Earl Ragnar, who's pretty much on a horse, who's at the time is covered in his little coat full of fur and wool, whatever. He takes the hood off, and he shows the decapitated head of King Uthred's son and Orput's brother and whatnot. So the boy is, obviously pissed off about this. He's yelling, he's frantic, and then the priest has to sort of calm him down a bit. And then Uthred's just like in shock. He tells his brother bury what's left of the boy, of his eldest son. So after that, you have the king pretty much tell the priest to send the boy to him, like, later on. And we find out that pretty much the boy is no longer Orpur or Arcbert, is now Uthred, and that he's now the true heir since his brother is dead, whatever. So his father, as you can tell from the first few episodes, is very harsh and is a very loud, and it's kind of annoying, but he's a very proud guy. So he tells the boy, tell the priest to let the boy know about his heritage through the parchment, and then he goes on to say to the kid, listen, you come from a long line of strong leaders, boy, strong ancestors who ruled these lands. Never forget who you are, Then the boy, says, thank you, father, and I will cut the head of the dude that killed my brother. And the guy's like, no, you will not, Like, it was like, damn, he came out of nowhere and you're watching it. And then he says, you are just but a pup, And then he told the priest, take the boy before his mother's tongue gets him into further, mess, And the boy says, Uthred says, that's not my mother, So after that, you have the big baptism scene. And I believe the woman that stops while the priest going his long, monotonous, like, soliloquy and whatnot, she notices that the boy's kind of been under the water too long. She's like, I think he's cleansed. The guy's like, oh, all right, he's cleansed, yay, and everyone's all celebrating. So after that, you have Uthred's father tell his brother to watch the boy, have 30 minutes around the boy, and that he's gonna go join, in the fight with King Aella and I believe King Orthbert. Because I believe, connecting to back what I said, that was a letter that the priest was writing. Writing a letter to both Aella and Orthbert about King Uthred agreeing to fight along with them to prevent the Danes from taking over the entirety of England. So, yeah. The last thing I think I'm going to mention in this video is the meeting between the Viking leaders or whatever in York. And Ubba is the leader. And I believe Earl Reiner tells about the whole thing with King Uthred, and he said it was cowardice when he saw his son's head and didn't do anything. Guthrum was like, no, it wasn't cowardice, it was resilience. He's saving his men for the battle, And then I believe they were talking about what they should do. Earl Ragnar wants to fight, so does his son, But Ubba's saying, listen, they have 3 armies, but they have 2 fools for kings. Because those two kings, whatever, Aella and the other one, they both feel as though they have a right to Epwich, So, yeah. So I believe after that, the young Earl Ragnar's boy pretty much says, okay, if we kill one of them, like one of the 3 kings, pretty much Uthred, then we'll take everything. We'll take Northumbria, And Ubba's laughing. He's like, oh, you're such a funny boy, Then the seer is all saying, oh, reminds me of you, a younger you. He's like, younger? Yeah, I know. Yeah, Ubba's like, yeah, I know. He's just a boy. And then he's like, yeah, younger. And then Ubba keeps on going saying, but I'm still young. So I know, I'm a man, but I'm not that old. Am I that old? Just funny banter. You can just tell that this dude's a good actor. I like this guy. So after that, I believe Ubba is saying, despite the conflicts, they have a larger army. They have 3 armies, army strong. And it probably wouldn't be a wise decision to do it now, despite the divided loyalties. But Earl Ragnar says, listen, man, I've seen the town beyond the gates. I can figure out, I have a strategy on how to win this upcoming battle. So we choose to fight them. So, so Ubba asks the seer once again, should we go? And seer's like, yeah, we should go. So everyone agrees. So part 2, you guys, in a few, my review of episode 1 of The Lost